Thank you so much for attending my playoffs preview for Blast Slam 5. This week, Blast has partnered up with Dota 2 PowerPoints to help promote Slam 5, its latest $1 million tournament. The 12 teams that arrive have been whittled down to just 6, and only 5 matches remain before we learn who the new champion will be. If you didn't watch the group stage, this video is designed to get you up to speed on all the action starting tomorrow. Thank you very much to Blast for supporting Dota 2 PowerPoints. So the first team to get a bye right into the semifinals is Team Falcons, a squad that I'm not a particularly big fan of. If you've been watching this channel for my other esports coverage, you're likely aware of this. But they are the reigning TI champion for a reason, and they were the runner-up at Blast Slam 4, so there's a little bit of revenge going on here. They lost the last event 2-3 to Tundra in the grand finals. They regrouped, however, and did even better in this group stage. They wound up going 10-1. They lost to the Yogurt Boys. I can't believe it. Of all the teams. Yakult brothers pulled one over on good old Team Falcons, so they don't have that undefeated record going into it, but still they did fantastic. Quite notably, Malrine appears to have overdosed on protein powder and will no longer be playing strength mids for the foreseeable future. There was a period of time in this tournament where they picked him Dragon Knight 4 games in a row, but it looks like old Owie 2000 has put him on the Pangolier Detox program, so we're getting to see a little bit more of his very wide hero pool. They're playing at a definitely much faster pace than they had at the International, faster than they had at the previous Slam. Their average game length when they win is a lot lower. The goose is definitely loose when it comes to Falcons. I guess the geese are least. There are 5 of them after all. Still, the 10-1 record, I personally think that they might have actually thrown to the Yogurt Boys in order to match with Tundra. They like being twinsies, right? Because they're all boyfriends with each other. But overall, they are probably a solid favorite. It's hard to imagine them not making it to the grand finals. I don't think there's any team that could contest them in the semis. ATF is still brawlic as hell. Everybody is terrified of his Huskar. If you go through the draft history of them at this event, no team wants that smoke. And it's very understandable. We all saw what happened to Pure, and we saw a few more matches of it at the previous Slam, so it makes sense. Please let it through. Just once. Can we just... Please just let it through on accident. I'm just praying that someone forgets about it and we get to see someone get super salty and inevitably get kicked from their team afterwards because of what that Huskar will do to them. But overall, they're looking really good. They wound up beating Tundra in the group stage this time. That was their big opponent at Slam 4 that they ultimately lost the tournament to. Now, I'm not a betting man, you can tell that from my sponsor history, but if I was, I would put money on Team Falcons. I won't necessarily be super happy to see them win, but it's hard to imagine them losing. They have a ton of momentum. It seems like they got over the Tundra boogeyman. Outside of a crazy upset, they're likely going to walk away with the trophy. I will remain respectful about it, for the sake of Blast. Next up is Tundra, who are the reigning Blast Slam champions. Also relatively stronger than last time, a better group stage record. They went 10-1, notably not losing to the Yogurt Boys, but they did lose to Falcons, and Falcons lost to the Yogurt Boys, so by transitive property, Yakult Brothers actually deserves a playoff bye. Their hero pool is a little bit different from a lot of the other teams that are running in this tournament, a little distinct. It's very in flavor with Tundra to sort of dance to the beat of their own drum. Whitemon, for example, keeps playing Position 5 Tusk, and I have already felt the echoes of these Position 5 Tusks in my ranked matches, and it makes me very upset. I do hope to see it more in tournament, though. I hope that something happens that makes people stop picking it in my games at home. Kez has sadly been put on the back burner after some experimentation at PGL Wallachia. I predict it will be picked in an elimination match, and it will either look broken as hell or completely worthless. It's up to Tundra to figure out which one they want it to be. It will be very indicative of Pure's playstyle, whether he owns with it or feeds like crazy, so it fits with the team identity. I expect them to reach the grand finals again. I do think they will lose 2-3 to Falcons in a thrilling repeat of the Blast Slam 4 Grand Final, which was an insane match if you weren't tuned into it. And after beating Falcons in the last event, Tundra has another opportunity to solidify their revengeance, because as we all know, Falcons management actually conspired to freeze Whitemon's visa, so he was unable to attend TI, and that's ultimately why Falcons could win. Now that Tundra has it, that's why they're back in Blast 4 Grand Finals. This will also determine if the flames of revenge still burn bright in the heart of Moon Meander. And now a team that many people have their eyes on, including myself and the eyes of the winningest player in the history of video gaming, No Tail. This new OG lineup, ripped straight out of Southeast Asia, pub stomped its way to a 6-5 record, basically winning every single match that it made sense for them to win. They didn't score any super magical upsets. The OG magic has yet to kick in, but don't worry. I have a feeling it's going to come in full force once the playoffs start. Notably, in a move that is definitely not in flavor with OG as a team, if you look at their history, they wound up crushing the dreams of South America by brutally stomping Heroic at the play-in. It was a swift and decisive 2-0. Now, in terms of their hero pool, they're sort of doing a really good copycat of the two really good teams at this tournament. So they're pulling a little bit from Falcons by first picking Mars 3 games in a row, and then they're also starting to play support Tusk, so they're ripping that off from Tundra. Natsumi, however, is first off, a beast. Second off, a total weirdo. He's been playing a bunch of weird off-meta picks as carry, including Wind Ranger position 1, which I'm very happy he won on. Yopaj kind of carried him. He went 17-1 on Nature's Prophet in the same game, but it was fun to watch. Wind Ranger Pos 1 is near and dear to my heart, so it's fun to see. He has played, in 12 matches, 10 different heroes. Personally, I hope his schizophrenia gets worse in playoffs. He truly is the Yatoro of the Philippines. Now, this team could make a miracle run to the grand finals if the OG magic truly kicks in full force. And considering that 11% of my audience is Filipino, I have a fiduciary responsibility to cheer for them. Team Yandex. Yandex? I'm going to call them Yandex. This team went 6-5 as well, and everything pretty much made perfect sense when you look at their match history. This team is sort of stuck between the highest echelon of Dota 2 pro teams at the moment and sort of the tier below them. And this tournament is their opportunity to really establish themselves as a real threat to the current meta kings. But getting to the grand finals will not be easy. They had a banger play-in series against Extreme to get here. They broke a lot of hearts on the way, including Ame's, but I can only assume that he's used to it at this point. They've had some really wacky roster moves that on their surface kind of look like side grades, but Watson is also an absolute monster. The team's performance has skyrocketed, so we can once again say that Ramses was the problem, or Solo. Take your pick. All we know for sure is that Watson, he was maybe the problem at GG, but he's fine here. He's also doubled down on his sort of pub-style play. He's very selfish, both in terms of playstyle and hero preferences, but the team is clearly okay with that. They're very accommodating towards his preferred environment. It reminds me of those old copy pastas where when Miracle joined OG, they just tried to replicate the environment of a 4K pub. It's a good time. It's a good time to watch them play, especially when they're picking Kez. So Watson has played 3 games of Kez, currently 1-2. This is another team that could whip out that bird in an elimination game, and it would be so funny to have them play another team that plays Kez and watch them play chicken in the draft. Haha, get it? Also, Soxa is serving as a stand-in, a great player who I like quite a bit. I believe they brought him in to raise the average height of their players to above 6 feet, which he could do for pretty much, well, maybe not every team. There's some shorties in the Dota world. As far as their future predictions go, if the OG Magic kicks in, they don't stand a chance. But at the same time, they sort of win the matchup by default, so I do expect them to beat OG, but it's tight. It's tight. And then it's Falcons, and, there's no way. Sorry, I wish you the best. Real tough luck of the draw. But, a miracle is always possible, but that is also what it would take. Fun to see Watson, though, in his home environment again. And Natus Vincer. Used to be Natus Vincer Jr., but now the boys are all grown up. So this team at this event has struck me as the latest team to inherit the title of China Killer, passed down all the way from Evil Geniuses back in 2014. This is them now. They went 3-1 against Chinese teams. The only one they lost to is Extreme, which is that's fine. that's very acceptable. This is also a team that wasn't expected to beat any of them. So this is enough for them to be awarded the title of China Killer. They also won a dope comeback in Game 2 against Tidebound in the play-ins to secure a spot in the top 6. They had a losing group stage record, by the way. They were 5-6, and here they are now in the top 6, which, that's kind of funky, but sure, whatever. Just keep putting them up against Chinese teams, and I guess they'll keep winning. The team dynamic is quite funny, especially when they have the cameras on their online play setups. But when it's in the booth, it's going to be really funny, because the team is old man Zayats, and the rest of the team has an average age of 18. So we can only hope, or we can only assume, that he has promised to buy them all cigarettes and booze from the gas station if they make the playoffs. And now that they're here, if they win, he'll buy them a gun. But they'll have to share it, because those are expensive. In terms of gameplay, really unfocused drafts, at least at the beginning. They just sort of picked seemingly random heroes that roughly fit the meta. But at some point, they realized that they could first pick Warlock for Riddies, and I pray to God that they have some really long, drawn-out game against Mouse, so we can go the Girls' Night build, and we can see a ton of golems on the screen. That would make me very happy. I'm cheering for these guys, even though they probably will not win. Now, I cannot confidently state who's going to win their match between Natus Vincer and Mouse. It could go either way. Notably, Mouse did stomped them in the group stage. It was a swift 1-0. But I attribute a lot of that match's outcome to the draft, and that's an area where I think Navi has solidly improved upon since the beginning of the tournament. So I look forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good game. Also, with their official permanent promotion from Navi Junior to the main squad, I would really appreciate if they could walk out to a Boys to Men song. I think it would be very fitting. I wrote a little bit about the possibility of Valve dropping 7.40 in the middle of the event. Feel free to read it if you like. And finally, we have Mouse, a team that revealed quite a bit about the tournament meta by going 7-4 and somehow getting 3rd place in the group stage. Now, this team is entering at the reigning Wallachia champion after beating Team Spirit in the grand finals, which sounds weird if you're just like, oh yeah, Spirit lost to Mouse. It's like, what? But then you look at this team's roster and you're like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. This team has so much star power. They had their first run at Fishura Playground 2. It was pretty whack with Lorinov in the mid lane, but mid one has been a beast since he got back. Very sacrificial playstyle to free up Chrysalis and Boom. Sort of taking the mantle from Maureen of playing Pause 3 from the mid lane. His Slardar is really funny to watch. It's a very different mid 1 than the one we understood from the past, but it's a very entertaining form of him, and you can't really get a full grasp of his game impact by looking at his KD. You just gotta watch him. This squad are also trailblazers of the DK meta. Chrysalis has 8 games, he's 6-2 with it. I think he's attempting to rid himself of the reputation of playing Underlord Pause 1 in a TI elimination match. He also stomped the Yogurt Boys with Troll Warlord, and that gives me conflicting feelings, because I love that hero, but I also love that team. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that I am a Crystallis believer. I have never not been a Crystallis believer. They should win against Navi on paper, but I have this weird gut feeling they're going to have a brain aneurysm in the draft and pick something really stupid for mid 1. Hopefully this happens after they're up a game and in game 2. If it happens in game 3, we're going to see something really funny. Even if they lose, it's guaranteed to be entertaining. I'm actually a really big fan of this Mouse squad as I've gotten to know them. I imagine if they lose, they'll have a vote on who to kick, but it'll be a 5-way tie, and instead they'll have to spin the wheel. In conclusion, Blast Slam 5 is electric, and you should absolutely watch it. I know you fellas from Blast are watching this video, so as a token of goodwill, I have raised my production value by inserting a GIF on the end slide, a first for this channel. Peace on planet Earth.